Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth was essentially kicked out of Normandy in France. They are declaring him persona non grata right there and saying never come back to Normandy after Hegseth gave this awful speech where he attacked European countries when he was on the hollow grounds of Normandy, which was supposed to be this solemn ceremony about D-Day and how allies came together, the United States and Canada and European countries and others coming together to fight back against fascism, to defeat Nazi Germany with that courageous act of allies coming together for the ultimate sacrifice. But when Hegseth was giving his D-Day speech, he said, and Europe today is allowing invasions of their beaches on their grounds like we saw back then, except this time it is the illegal immigrants that you are allowing invasions to take place. And he made it into this whole horrific political attack on Europe, on Americans' allies. And so you see right here, Hegseth and his family leaving Normandy right there. And take a look right here, how it's being described in the French press. You see right here, our editor-in-chief, Ron Filipkowski, says, I don't speak French, but I think this means the people in Normandy didn't like Hegseth's speech. You have to be a pretty colossal dipshit to screw up a D-Day commemoration ceremony. Pete Hegseth, persona non grata in Normandy. He has no place here. Pete Hegseth, persona non grata for the 82nd anniversary of the D-Day landings, this in the French press and elsewhere. And just to remind you, I'll just show you a very short portion of Hegseth's speech. One of the most disgraceful things to say to the memory of the men and women who gave their lives to win World War II. Watch what Hegseth had to say here. Play this clip.
Sadly, today, different European beaches are stormed by different dangerous ideologies. Beaches in Spain, in Italy, in Greece, and Bulgaria. Boats and men arrive. When will European capitals do something about that invasion? Or is it too late? I pray not, and I believe not. The men who fought and died here restored freedom to Europe. That freedom must be maintained by this generation of leaders and warfighters, or what they fought for was merely temporary. As our great President Ronald Reagan once said, freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. You don't pass it to the next generation in the bloodstream. It must be defended by each and every generation. We stand by our allies, and we expect our allies capable and ready to stand alongside us.
Now, we are seeing Hegseth, Donald Trump, Trump cabinet members, persona non grata across the world as well. Hegseth and others being called out by, even in the past 24 hours, President Zelensky of Ukraine calling the U.S. out by name and saying, we, Ukraine, do not agree when the United States makes deals with Putin in Anchorage, Alaska, for Ukraine to give up our territory. It ain't happening, Donald. It ain't happening to the United States. We ain't doing it. Watch as Zelensky gives this powerful speech as well. Let's play you a short portion from this interview. Let's play it.
We've got messages that they are ready for meeting only if Ukraine will do what they decided in Anchorage. But it's terrible what they speak about. And I said it when we had meeting. Look, you can't, with all respect, even with all respect to President of the United States, but you can't cut our country, or you can't decide, our people decide. You can't make decisions without us, about us. It's unacceptable, and it will not bring peace. This is the first, and will not bring success to your countries and to your leaders. So that's why I said that the best way, if you want to stop the war against Ukraine, use sorry, in a very polite way, use opportunity to speak with us.
Now, we know that Hegseth, Trump, persona non grata in Canada right now, where the boycott there is not just going strong, but stronger than ever. Persona non grata in Denmark, in Greenland. Right now, the United States ambassador to Denmark has to hide when he's in Denmark. Literally, when he goes out, he has to wear a cap and pretend that he's not who he is because he knows how much the people hate him. And normally the ambassador to Denmark from the United States is like a superstar out there. He has to go and hide when he's in public now because that's what happens when you threaten the sovereignty of nations, when you threaten the sovereignty of Canada. And as Pete Hegseth, Trump's ambassador to Canada, says, the 51st state discussion is on the table when it comes to reviewing the Canadian-United States-Mexico agreement. When it comes to CUSMA, we are going to negotiate whether Canada should be the 51st state. Then it's just like, well, then you shouldn't be surprised when Canada boycotts everything America, when Canada makes it very clear that they're not traveling to the United States, when you threaten their very sovereignty. With Hegseth being banned from Normandy, with the United States and Trump regime cabinet officials becoming persona non grata across the world right now, I want to bring in Charlie Angus from Meidas, Canada, to help break this all down and to talk about the boycott that has escalated by Canadians who have gone elbows up against Trump regime in the United States as a result of this behavior. Let's just bring in the interview I just did with Charlie Angus. Now let's bring in Charlie Angus, who of course leads Meidas Canada. Charlie, great to see you as always. Let's just get right into it. We saw this week the ambassador to Canada from the United States, Hegseth, who's absolutely detested over there. We also saw Donald Trump using this 51st state rhetoric again, making these posts threatening the sovereignty of Canada. What's the reaction and response right now out of Canada, Charlie?
Well, Ben, you often say Canada's furious. Canadians are really done with this guy. And the insults, the stupidity, the gaslighting that we put up with him for a long time and have been very polite about. But I think what's really concerning here is we have the ambassador of a foreign nation openly saying that it would be a great discussion whether or not we give up our sovereignty. I mean, if the Chinese did this, if the Russians did this, if any other nation did this, there would be complete outrage. Why is it that we allow this ambassador to undermine our sovereignty, our nationhood, our birthright, and in such a dismissive fashion? Because his boss has never, ever once backed off his belief that he can break us as a country. So what it's done is it's pissed people off. And obviously the impacts are going to be felt by the laid off workers in Kentucky, the bourbon distilleries, the poor folk in Las Vegas and Florida who've lost tourism dollars. Canadians will never, ever, ever spend money on anything America. If every time Pete Hegseth opens his mouth, it reminds us to hold that boycott.
Let's talk about some moves that we've seen Canada make lately when it comes to military equipment, when it comes to Saab and the Gripens, let's say over the F-35, when it comes to the Global Eye, which already has a JV with Bombardier, but leading more into Sweden in terms of certain aircraft and military equipment, and the EU. And then we're seeing that being reciprocated as well with Bombardier and Canada's military. What are you seeing over there?
It's a significant shift. Again, Canada's always been the little brother to the great alliance that started 81 years ago to fight fascism. That's what brought Canada and the U.S. together. We were pretty suspicious of each other before that, and so you see the United States walked on this Canada-U.S. peace board, defense board that had been put in place back in the days when we were trying to defend the coast from the U-boats and the Nazis and other possible threats, and the Japanese on the Pacific coast. But when you see us shifting away in such a dramatic fashion, it's sending a really clear message. The decision by Canada to purchase the Swedish Global Eye surveillance planes is about us defending the Arctic, our sovereignty. And who are we defending it from? We're defending it from obviously Russia, but now we're also defending it from the United States. We made a very clear commitment to Greenland and Denmark that we would be there for them. We know that the threat to the Arctic is against us. So far, we haven't seen the Russians there, but we know that Donald Trump has been putting more and more pressure there. So the move with the Swedes is a big step. And it signals this wild change that's happened just in the last year of Canada now aligning with Nordic countries, Finland, Sweden, Norway. These are the people that we're now seeing as our allies because we now see a threat on the border.
And you're seeing what has often been referred to as, the mid-powers uniting to form their own kind of superpower or pole in this multipolar world where it seems America first has meant America all alone, with Donald Trump's deranged behavior and threatening to invade this or that in the Western Hemisphere. You have certainly the rise of China and the Trump trip basically bowing to Xi Jinping, as Xi Jinping talked about the Thucydides trap and a broader alliance there of Russia, North Korea, bringing in Iran into the fold, BRICS bloc. And then it's kind of like, all right, what's going to happen with Europe? What's going to happen with Nordic countries? What's going to happen with Canada and Australia? And so I think you're seeing this massive global shift right now as well. And to see Carney in the last month or so in Armenia at the European Council meeting, then going to the Economic Forum in New York City and basically saying that, we're not the same Canada anymore. So be aware of the pivot that Canada, talk about that kind of a trip that we've seen in the past 60 days accelerate.
Well, we're seeing things that we couldn't have even imagined before, like open talk about alliance with the European Union. Now, I've been to the European Union. I've met with them. They're a lot more bureaucratic than Canadians are. I think it would drive us nuts to be in the EU. I'm just saying that to all our Canadian viewers. I know it sounds great. It's probably a lot more problematic. But what is possible is a hybrid agreement of us being part of a European Union. We're very much part of the European Union now in terms of military defense, in terms of funding. The fact that for the first time ever, Canada has been included in their procurement and funding plans to get more military support. And Canada is now setting up and as the international center to tie the Europeans and Asia, Australia, New Zealand, our Commonwealth cousins, other countries, again, bypassing the United States. This is all very, very, we're in uncharted territory, but it's also insane. I mean, we are, anybody in Toronto listens to Buffalo TV. Anybody in Buffalo listens to what's happening in Toronto. I mean, we have many of the almost the exact same cultural references from we are neighbors. We've had such good relationships. If the United States ever wants anything from Canada, they get it. They want critical minerals, they get it. They want copper, they get it. But, when Donald Trump has been saying that, our metals are what we supply to the U.S. economy is a national security threat. The fact that they've attacked us more and more, and they continue, and we see this with Pete Hegseth. This is what is reminding Canadians. This has not gone away. This wasn't Donald being Donald. They fundamentally hate us because we remain democratic. We remain inclusive. We believe in diversity and equity. Inclusion as signs of strength, not something to get freaked out about. That we are now shifting so that we are doing military buildup with Europe and not the United States, that we're doing more and more trade with Europe and with China. We've had a really, really bad history with China in terms of interference. A lot of things went down with China and Canada in the last 15 years that wasn't great. And now we're saying, well, hey, they may be more responsible right now to deal with than Donald Trump. That's the message that's being heard in Canada. And again, you've got an ambassador openly talking about whether or not we have a right to our sovereignty. I mean, any other jurisdiction, this guy would be thrown out. he's being there at the U.S. Embassy because he's Donald Trump's man. But Canadians really, really detest this guy. They detest dealing with anything to do with the United States right now. And we're trying to find a way out of this nightmare by building these alliances elsewhere.
Charlie, we head into the summer right now. We know that Donald Trump and his regime watch this. They monitor this. They monitor Meidas Canada. What's your message right now to Donald Trump and his regime, knowing that they're watching this?
You know, it's coming for you, Donald. The Epstein files, they're coming for you. The FBI files that the Justice Department suppressed with these horrific allegations, it's coming for you, Donald. It's falling apart, Donald. But, Donald, at the end of the day, if you don't have a country like Canada on your side, who do you have? You threw all your lot in with Vladimir Putin, who's losing 30,000 men a month and his soldiers are surrendering to robots in the field. You threw your lot in with who else? Orban and Hungary. That did him a lot of good, didn't it, Donald? You threw your lot in with the far right in Germany and in Romania and in France and the UK, and the Democratic allies on this anniversary of D-Day who came together to fight fascism are still the Democratic allies that you need, but you don't get it because you are a gangster, Donald. And at the end of the day, I would go beyond Donald and say, to the folks in Kentucky, to the folks in Nevada, to the folks in Arizona who've seen that huge loss of Canadian dollars, Donald doesn't give a damn about you. He never did. Canadians don't hate you, but there will never be another dime spent on anything American as long as our sovereignty is threatened, as long as they think that they can push us around. Because, again, this is the anniversary of when our Canadian troops, all our young men and boys, landed in Normandy to help the Europeans fight fascism. And we come from a long line of fascist fighters. So get in line, Donald. We'll take you on next.
Charlie Angus, thanks for joining us. As always, make sure everybody subscribes to Meidas Canada. Just search Meidas Canada on YouTube, and you'll see the daily videos Charlie puts out. Thanks, Charlie.
Thanks so much.
Everybody hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.